get the bye week, you go on some recruiting trips. What was that kind of like? Just that experience of finally getting to go, do this after so many months of not being able to.
It was good. I mean, I think the biggest thing is we're received really well across our state. I know we put a lot of time, effort, and energy into meeting and getting into as many schools as we can with some coaches and seeing as many games as possible. So it just felt normal. It felt good. It felt real, and just excited to, kind of invest in our state as well as, get kind of across the country and kind of hopefully shore up our board and get some other names and get to see guys live. I'm a big fan of evaluating guys in person because I think you really get a chance to see who they are, what they do when they fail, how they interact with their coaches. So being on the sidelines, I think, is an important part of this evaluation process. So to finally be able to do that after a couple of years was very much needed for our program.
What schools did you go see, if you're able to say?
Well, I'll stay away from that. I don't get into a competition of where we're going, but we got a chance to get to some local schools as well as get to, the western side of the state and put in some really good time. So I'm just excited about all the guys I got a chance to meet, as well as some of the relationships that we can build into the future.
Just kind of more on the topic of the current team, just in terms of Cade and Khalid, do you have an update on if they'll be available for Oregon?
Yeah, they were both out there in some capacity today. I think HD should be really close to being ready to go and to help us in some realm. Cade is taking a day at a time, but he's gotten better and better. And, just excited towards the end of the week of getting them back out there and getting them ready to play. So it's been a steady progress. I think HD will be ready to go for sure. And I think Cade is doing everything he can to be ready for Saturday night.
If Cade can't go, and Maake was to start in his place, would you guys stick with the rotation or would just let Maake handle the snaps?
Well, Cade can go. And I think we'll stick to the rotation that we've been doing. And Maake's proven that he can come in there. And I think Connor's been doing a good job of being multiple this week. So we do have some options, and I think we'll keep those guys rotating and fresh depending on how the game goes.
And then, we talked last week about Coach McKnight and kind of all the energy and the enthusiasm he brings. Coach Morrison, I think it's been said, is a little more kind of watchful and a little quieter in that regard. How is he kind of connected with Jaden and the quarterbacks?
I think really well. I mean, I think he's, really artful in what he says. He does a lot of his work really behind the scenes or pulls you in close and really has a good personal relationship with the people that he coaches. And I think that's very important. Very cerebral coach person. And that's what you kind of see out on the field. And, I think Jaden has really taken to that, style of coaching and also just seeing another perspective. I said this before, if you're a lifelong learner of the game, you're going to experience a lot of different coaches, a lot of different viewpoints, and it's going to shape, really your vision of how you see this game. And I think Jaden really wants to learn. He wants to soak it up. So to have another voice talking to him has been a positive thing, and he's really reacted to it really well.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, Coach. Next one's going to be Colton Clark, Spokesman Review. Go ahead, Colton.
How's it going, Coach?
Good, Colton. How you doing?
Great, thank you. So we talked a little bit about the offensive line last time we talked with you. I'm just wondering, what kind of developments have you seen with that group? I know they were a little up and down early, especially at the Utah game. Has it just been, are they kind of playing sort of night and day compared to that Utah game or early, or what's kind of flipped for them?
Well, I think what flipped is Jaden just consistently playing. And, I think they've been constant. I think they've been, consistent. I wouldn't say there's been a big roller coaster ride with those guys. I know they put in the work. I still think they are the foundation of our team and one of the strengths. And I've always felt that way. And now that I sit in this chair, I feel that way now going forward. So it's just a consistency and a rallying cry of what Jaden has brought. And I think those guys have been consistent in their effort and their energy, and their focus and what they've accomplished all year. Now, I haven't taken a critical eye at the whole season, but what I'm seeing over the last couple of weeks is, really good performances, really good blitz IDs and pickups and guys that are finishing to the whistle. And we can coach those guys every time. So I'm really happy with where the group's at and looking forward to continue to build as we continue to finish this season.
From your perspective, which position group overall do you think has seen the most significant growth from week 1 to now?
On the whole team?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say the defensive backs. I think we've done a good job of had a lot of bust and miscommunications and some things early. And I think those guys have really shored up a lot of those type of issues and really are understanding, what we're asking them to do. And I'm happy with where they're at. And we'll continue to be challenged, by really good talent and good receivers down the stretch. So their consistency of play, their communication has really improved. I've been very happy with some of the breakout tackling, so there's been a lot of positives of not giving up explosive plays, and that has given us a chance week in and week out. So those guys have been a big part of that. So those are the guys that stick out the most to me right now.
Can you talk a little bit about what Oregon's bread and butter seems to be? Is it pretty much up front on both sides of the ball?
Well, I just think when you look at Oregon, the biggest thing and why I have such high regard and respect for their program is it's not just good players. They're coached well. Their schemes are very detailed and attack people week to week. They win the game at the line of scrimmage. Their details, their discipline, they don't beat themselves. They don't just turn it over. So there's a lot of positives about, you don't, do what they have done and turn into the number 3 team in the country without doing those things, So there's a lot of that stuff that I think they hang their hat on, and our guys are going to be ready to meet that challenge come Saturday night, and we'll be excited and ready to play. So I just think they're a well-rounded team, and, but I think they're coached well and they're tough and they do things right. So you can see that on tape, and we're going to have to be at our best Saturday night.
And of course, this is, a huge game. How much has the kind of magnitude of this game been addressed, or is it kind of more for you guys, trying to not, trying to keep it more normal?
Well, I think it's the biggest game of the year because it's the only one we're playing this week. And that's our approach. That's always been our approach. And if you stay steady in that approach, the biggest thing I tell the guys is however you perceive this game, should that change the way you prepare? It doesn't change the way I prepare for this game as I've done any other games up to this point. So you have your routine, you stick to how you take care of your body. You know the times when you watch tape and you study film, and hopefully you're invested, whether we're 0-9 or 9-0 and we're meeting the standard of how we prepare and play. So that's my message, over everything always is we have a standard. Okay. And the standard of the program is your best in everything you do on and off the field, period. So what are you doing every day to meet that standard and to make sure all your teammates are meeting the standard? So that's been our approach. But our guys don't have their head under the sand. They understand what each game could potentially mean as we go forward throughout the season. But we're not looking ahead. We're looking to this matchup. We've been preparing for it for 2 weeks, and we'll be ready come Saturday night.
Thanks very much.
You bet.
All right, Coach. Next one's going to be Alex Tracenti from Spokane TV. Go ahead, Alex.
Hey, Coach. I was just wondering, you had Oregon. You were leading by double digits last year in the game. Is there any kind of lessons that you took in preparation for this year from last year at all?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is you got to play 60 minutes, against good teams. I appreciate what you're saying. We had a really good first half and we had a big failure in the last 30 seconds before the half, if you remember that right, defensively. So you gotta finish off good teams, and this is going to be a 60-minute game. We're going to play this thing all the way. So I just think it's one of those things where how explosive they can be. They can catch up in a hurry. You can't ever play safe or just think that this game's ever, in doubt. Even if you get ahead or behind, you got to keep trucking ahead and you got to take it one play at a time. So I just think our guys know the mindset of what we're going into, a good team and a good environment in their home stadium, so I know they'll be ready to play, and we just got to make sure we're ready to match that intensity and stay the course for 60 minutes, one play at a time, making sure every man's doing their job. And then I think that scoreboard will be what we want it to be at the end of the day.
And then one of Oregon's most explosive players, Travis Dye, had a career day this past weekend against Washington. But that was due to with the weather conditions, couldn't throw the ball that whole lot. But what do you have to do to make sure he's not running for 200 yards on you?
Well, he's a dynamic player, and I know he's hard to bring down, and he's fast and quick. And he hits the holes. And I think he's just a very versatile guy that they use in many different forms and ways. And, he's an old school player, doesn't wear gloves. I mean, there's just a lot of things that he's just positive. But we need to tackle well. We need to play well up front. And it goes back to the same thing we said going into Arizona State is we got to win some first downs to get them behind the chains, so those will be some of the biggest things that we see at times, getting an extra hat in the box, choose when the pressure and take some chances. But, we got to win some first down, and it starts with stopping the run. And he's a big part of that. So we're going to have to contain him the best we can because he's ready to hit the big one at any time. He's that type of running back and can do it in the pass game and the run game. So we'll know where he is. They use him in a lot of different ways. So we'll be ready for that.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
All right, Coach. Next one's going to be Brenna Green, Spokane TV. Go ahead, Brenna.
Hello. Earlier, of course, I just switched off of this. Earlier today, Mario Cristobal had his press conference, and he said that he considers you guys as much of a rival as anybody because of how close these games have been over the years. I know that you weren't, around for the Mike Leach versions of these games.
Yeah.
I know a lot of your players were. Just what's kind of your reaction to him saying that?
Well, for me, Brenna, is just taking it one game at a time. Like I said, the past is the past. Those are those teams. I'm a big believer that you bring a new team into the stadium every week. When you're, bringing in 18 to 23-year-old young men, motivation, things that happen in their lives, the focus of the week and the preparation and how they perceive the game. Sometimes you bring a new team in every week. I mean, we haven't talked a lot about the past, if that's what you're trying to ask. I know there's a confidence level that our players have going into this game, and they're excited about this game, and they've practiced very hard to this point, and we'll continue to do that this week. But I just think there's a focus on the now and what this team can do now. So I appreciate what Coach is saying, and I fully understand that. He's been part of more of those matchups than I have, but I do know our seniors, want to keep playing this game the right way, and they have to this point, and there's been a lot of close matchups over the years.
Just what is it like for you personally to be in this position where, if you guys win this game, you're going to be in control of your destiny in the Pac-12. Just what is it like for you to be the head coach in this position right now?
Well, I think it's about the team. I don't think about it, what it means for me. Our guys have played themselves into this situation, and I think they understand that. To play meaningful games in November, you remember November. And if you keep doing what you can do and you keep being 1-0, every game kind of multiplies, but we're going to, just stay on course, keep our same mindset and focus of what I talked about a little bit earlier. So for me, it's just staying the course, leading these guys, setting the schedules, doing those type of things, and just making sure that we're staying focused on the task at hand, and that's one play at a time.
The world kind of has you as a significant underdog going into this game. The line's about the same that it was against Arizona State. Obviously, that's not something you pay attention to, but do you think your team kind of revels in that underdog mentality, or do you think it's something they don't really take into account?
Yeah, same thing I said after Arizona State. Is nothing that we're going to use. We're focused on what we can control and what we can do. And that's always will be our mindset here. So those things, we don't worry about those things. That's just outside noise. What can we do to stay focused and do our best in the moment in every play? And that's what our guys are preparing to do.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions for Coach Dickert? Please raise your hand and we'll call on you. All right, Coach, we got one more. Go ahead, Jamie. Jamie from Coug Fan.
Hey, Coach, me again.
Hey, Jamie.
Talking earlier about Khalid and just forgot to ask. I think it was a couple weeks ago when I asked, you said he kind of has that more of a physical role, whereas George is more of the coverage, tackling type. If Khalid does indeed return, do you kind of see them in some kind of rotation depending on situations and scenarios?
Yeah, I mean, he's been bouncing back really well for practice, but he's got to prove after a long stay that he's ready for the adjustments and all those type of things. But when he's ready, I think there'll be a role for him on the field. And I think this team needs that depth and his energy that he brings. So, there could be a role for him on Saturday, and he's working hard to get himself ready. So when the moment comes, he's back ready on the field.
And then last thing, we haven't seen much of Dallas Hobbs lately. Is he been nicked up, or is he just a logjam at defensive tackle right now?
No, I mean, I wouldn't say logjam. I just think there's a weekly competition, and who we feel is the best going into the week is the guys that we're going to use and play. And we've been really happy with the growth of Poulet and Muhajid and Christian Mejia, and Crowder. Those guys have kind of warranted the majority of the reps. So that's kind of where our mindset's at, and it's a competition, and Dallas is out there working hard every day. And I know he loves this place and this university and gives us everything we have. So that's kind of where we're at right now.